냠제 전부도 유미종 또는 전부가 자다 다그러 다른 전도 실문도 또만 제자라기 숑살.
To liberate sentient beings, please generate the supreme bodhicitta before we start today's teaching.
Tene tsadan damba shariwi kurujibo te tagla somnyedan te zum zavra rikte semgir number toba semgir shine Gagni jijan chula te zum zavra jirte di tse chondan de landir ke jia soru to chondan de ndartar chondan de tejang shaba jab chomba tejang shaba namgi tamke ba kimba chutan ba yang tabra ngparam zapa chu zapmo nge ngombra zobra san je so jibwa ta dembro gonde shapa ya shibra ka go jiba yangda somber je kan la tin kan la da chondan de la chuji namjan da ta ver nguncha 만투 대 존던된 코르저 본도 더냥 대좀더 솜녀 차르나 대비전셔비 찔라공대 대비전셔비 추잡 모양 덕브름 잡아대 존던데 길럭브르샤도 소 데니 제단단 바샤리비 디 스스 잡안다도 소르도 또 남브라타 남타르 상탄다 호도메 방에 톱지 라네 머니 메이니 마이 당 톱감 치던 don잠자다 촐라제와 맘치 버 샹주르냥 보강 조브람자 촐라자야 마제버 뎀브루 공데 샤브르 조도 마시 바르노 송즈데 니티쇼바 홍브람자다 이십니바 좀자 장 자모타장 랍샤다 베 왕던저장 zam메바 냥다브라 강지거 나마 자라지 요송냠데 데랑다도 대숨저 랑지르 샹지베 강사라바 게르몬 대정 게르몬 마 라당 로당 노전당 토지 제단 지자다 대좀 차르장 남셈데 대도 판즈노 단마 단지장 강님 초라라다나 타바 쳔보 롱탄노 소라 데럭샤비 냔토 남다나 저트니 치바근 데이나나 당초거 제 정정초거 단라나 메요소 니티오네다 달라다 덕장 대좀 사르 냥나데 타르 더 셴탐 군데 더 라쇼도 단담 랑암초거 영지랍도 송숑데 추운데 저트라 라브르샤도 소르 제테테 치반다 더남 다르모자르 지니 자르라타 라당 노정 쯤부르지 시어담적 공고롱시 시마니 샹침 초던 사르 강라바 야트 참르 감치데 더다 사당 콜로 저르 자르오강 시와 뚱가 장네 라바다가 교바 전저 용서 조기지 탐치 다르모 저르데 기브름치 데르크 소르와당 좀던데 기 제단단 바샤리와 란더크 집가 자르도 샤리브 돈도 샤페 지지기샤 대지저제나 샤리브 돈도 샤나 하담 집변지든도 흥어른 저르로 양 제단단 바샤리비 좀던데 랄라나 니스 소라다바 돈도 존던데 샤도 소르 돈도녀도 존던데 샤도 소르 데브르샤바 샤도 소르 대지라드 제나 존던데 코론다 낙쪽적 야쪽 mambo stomchog mambo 쪽적 야스tom mambo 쪽적 시와 쪽적 야스tomchog mambo 군지 산지 통웨 셰럽당 담바 강로바 존던데 지샤바라 tatpadang yichepadang zimbaran jirwemchi so teneti cedang damba shariwi tsizib japan dok surdo chogchak stonam korna chibada tatag devarak shigla kibarte chuji chutan tela tedag tsarwaran jir mawar jar boksarwar shadok suro tenab chondan deki cedang damba shariwi lana nisi yandar kapsar to shariwi tondab shapi chijigisha 샤리브 돈도 샤트 날하던 집은 지으스텐 더 흥어런 저르데 게르롱딱 게르롱락 방아르지르잔던 저르나미 양사 침부른 주로 티넵존던 디지티 이르거다 측습 자반도 takkwapsardo ngai chundo shapa cho isin dam chaftakma ni shiba mangkur ngar girjana ngai chushin mashirpon teni cedang damba shari ve chondan de la lano ni lano xamda yang sorar tapo chondan de shatak sorar de ora shaba shatak sor chondan de kuranda dagdagdan javra gyapchak mandam chi so Chondan de Chok Jarto Mambo, Chok Toncho Mambo, Chok Jarton Mambo, Xia Chok Jarton Mambo, Chondan de Hunji Chaba, La Yonser Mambram Zaba, Janda Jamchi, de Chondan de Gipshapa, Taparanjera, Yichiparanjero, De Anteta Yen Ron, Tonda Mamba. During Euro, Tini Sedan Bashari, Tits Japan Sorto, Kanye Namjim Shoko Churchill Soro, Kyolati Tow Dang Surva, Dana Chok Shiva Tomchi Ba, Deda Kyoki Chushan Dada Nyer, Munji Japanams Kyokina, Yanata the same gentleman's Ba, Deda Tarmo Jardin Danamchi. Deda Chunda Lan Tatparanger, Danga Yapcha, Jernin the Dagatan, Kantak Shanchim Chok the Jibata, Delazine, Delsh Rapshete, Deda Gavaram Chokya Kieto Sura, the Nipjon de Gitan Damba Sharivela Lan, Surum Sorata Pamkini, Sedan Damba Sharivela under Kajika Sato, Shariv and the Tartition Shopel Lan, some Nivarto. Dedan Shabala Langsam Giva, Sura, Debna Shariva, Dio Sura, and Deba Chola Jerkatu Shi, Shariva, Tisha, the Lopper Raptor, Yola, Yella Zonshitang, Chola Shadow, Jumdi, Dirkachika Sarmata, Cortene, Gerlon, Gerlomada, Genian Malhopping, Argerchen, Garton, Stanley Land, Jondan de Kijala, Go Shagam Sarne, and Cortene Tongo, under the Hopping Argerchen, gave Sava. Mato Barno Tobranda Shi, Konda Machipano, Konda Shibershiba, Kyunda Shide, Kurtene, Don La, Jondan de Jam Mason, where a Jerve, no. Tene Jondan de Gitan by Sharivel under Kachipkasato, Sharivel, Kur Shind Mame Perkirte, Shariver, Nyambo Mayamba, Me Perkirala, Tapi, Nyambola, Nede, Labi. Ngarjir Chantan Tongayan Lakso, Sharivate Tavinati Ton Shadow, Jondan de Lakso, Jirsurne, Shariv Jondan de Kinyantu, Jondan de Kinderkache, Kapsarto.
Next, we will discuss in more detail the significant and highly influential Buddhist scripture, widely known as the Lotus Sutra. This particular time, we will mainly discuss Kumarajiva's famous classical translation work, specifically together. Let me take a very careful, detailed look at our ancient Dharma text here today. Some people say that our Lotus Sutra is a compiled version. They claim that we do not mention Kumarajiva and do not show proper respect for the translator. This is what some masters from the Tiantai school have indeed said. I think perhaps their own wisdom has not yet fully matured. It's clearly and explicitly written in our sacred Dharma text that it was indeed translated by the Venerable Kumarajiva. They say that this Dharma of the Tiantai school doesn't need to be promoted. I'm still here. He himself said, I'm still here, there's no need for others to come. But we've never actually heard of this before, personally today, and it's certainly not necessarily required for us to actively promote it either whatsoever. But in actual reality, some ordinary people themselves may not even really. Some fundamental principles are already written very clearly and explicitly in our sacred Dharma text. If this were a meticulously compiled and comprehensive version, we also feel that it might not be very reasonable. But according to the Tibetan version, in Kumarajiva's esteemed translation, it's simply a matter of thoughtfully rearranging the various chapters. The crucial entrustment chapter is specifically positioned right in the middle, and we carefully place it. As I mentioned in the preface earlier, we put it at the end. Generally speaking, whether it's sutras or tantras, it's always like this. The Devadatta chapter is distinctly separated. This particular chapter exhibits slight yet notable differences between its Tibetan and Chinese versions. Also, in the supplemented Lotus Sutra, there's content that exists in the Tibetan and other translations. This was added in So I sincerely hope that many dedicated masters of the traditional Tiantai school should continue to study this subject further. I personally know that there are still a few wise masters who do actually exist in the world. I also feel that they should indeed exist. But if these entities or individuals truly exist and have not taken any action whatsoever, as has been previously stated and widely acknowledged, some people are dead but they're still alive, while some people are alive but they're already dead. This isn't very good either, so I personally think our comprehensive research from the unique perspective of traditional Tibetan Buddhism is very necessary indeed. We should also carefully study classical Chinese Buddhism extensively. I extensively study Tibetan Buddhism, and I also deeply study Chinese Buddhism. Although I'm not especially familiar with all the intricate traditions of every single school, I have, however, had the valuable opportunity to interact with some truly great masters from certain prominent sects. Whether it's giving teachings or lectures, and some of their doctrines, basically, I truly feel there are indeed significant similarities in some fundamental aspects as well. So today, I would really like to talk about this particular topic here too. As for this specific translation, it was not actually done by me personally, nor is it mainly based on other versions. And in this first class, I'll start by talking about the title of the Lotus Sutra. Then I'll discuss who translated the Lotus Sutra. It was translated by Kumarajiva. Next, I gave a full introduction to Kumarajiva and also provide some detailed background as well. Everyone should be clear about this point. So whether you are dear fellow practitioners or our beloved Buddhist friends worldwide, some debates are actually very beneficial. But if you bring up theories that don't hold up, in the end, you might just expose your own lack of wisdom. And it may not necessarily be to your own benefit. That's something I wanted to mention here. Now, today we are going to thoroughly discuss the profound teachings of the Lotus Sutra. After a significant period of time regarding this very important Lotus Sutra, many dedicated fellow practitioners and various other diligent practitioners are also actively engaged in the comprehensive process of organizing and compiling its vast wisdom. In the foreseeable future, what I've meticulously taught may very well be presented in a much more systematic and comprehensively organized order. When that happens, you should also refer to it, read it carefully, and compare it with others as well. I also mentioned this the other day. There have been so many commentaries and annotations up until the Tang dynasty, and from the Tang, Song, Yuan, Ming, and Qing dynasties onward, many great masters have also written works on it. Including some senior Dharma teachers in modern times, they have also produced commentaries and annotations. So, on one hand, I might feel like an outsider, but on the other hand, I have been teaching and explaining the Dharma for so many years. At the same time, if I combine some of the teachings from the Tibetan tradition, perhaps there will be a significant amount of valuable reference material as well. Usually translations done by people who understand Sanskrit, when compared with the Sanskrit, and when cross-referenced with the original meaning in Sanskrit, there is a significant amount of new knowledge to be found and discovered. So, in my specific case, I am referencing the content that is written in Tibetan and comparing it with the current Chinese translation by Kumarajiva. During this process of comparison, I will combine the insights and share them with everyone. Therefore, in this entire process, everyone should diligently and thoroughly study. Then, as I mentioned the other day, what exactly should many of us truly strive to achieve? We should be able to explain the literal meaning of the Lotus Sutra. But this doesn't mean that out of arrogance you think you can explain it. It's not necessarily the case. So, if you can truly explain the profound literal meaning of the sacred Lotus Sutra clearly and basically reflect deeply on its spiritual meaning, if you really can't manage this task properly and your mental capacity is a bit dull, that's perfectly okay too. If you keep listening to the transmission teachings, there are also many stories and cases. I once came across a fascinating story before. There was a devout monk who diligently recited the profound Lotus Sutra every single day. But this monk was also required to participate in government affairs for the emperor. He often went to the grand, magnificent and imposing imperial palace. At that time, there were no carriages to go to the palace. There was a certain distance between his monastery and the palace, so he would ride a horse. Whenever he went from the monastery to the grand palace, he would always be accompanied, and maybe the distance wasn't particularly long. He would recite the first chapter of the Lotus Sutra along the way. Later, the horse tragically died. After its passing, a family residing in the immediate vicinity of the monastery had a child. Moreover, this family experienced a profound and vivid dream, which clearly indicated that the child was the spiritual reincarnation of the monk's cherished horse from the monastery. At first, the parents didn't believe it, but when they went to the monastery to thoroughly check, they found that the monk's horse had indeed tragically died, and the precise timing matched exactly. After that, the parents became completely convinced. They sent the child to the monastery. But at the monastery at first, the child was extremely slow-witted. He just couldn't learn anything. Later, when they started teaching him the Lotus Sutra, he was able to learn the first chapter very easily, but he couldn't really learn the rest. Because when he was actually a horse, he often heard the monk reciting the first chapter. So even as an animal, it truly is indeed. Just hearing the sound of the Lotus Sutra brings such great merit. I also read another story. A person went to Mount Putuo. His mother had passed away. Many years had passed since her death, and he wanted to perform a ritual to help her transcend. When he was preparing for the ritual, there was a monk in the monastery reciting the Lotus Sutra, and he made some offerings to the monk, writing down his mother's name so the monk could help her transcend. When he returned home, a cow in their family suddenly died. Later, in a vivid dream, it was clearly revealed that his beloved mother had finally finished her difficult time as a poor cow because someone had compassionately performed the sacred ritual for her benefit, and through the divine spiritual power of that ritual, she was supposed to be completely freed from suffering. But that monk, while reciting the Lotus Sutra, was drinking alcohol. So, because of his fault in drinking, he was indeed responsible, and it created some obstacles to her liberation. Later, the man went to talk to the monk again, telling him that his mother had appeared in his dream like this. After that, the monk said, "From now on, I will never drink alcohol again." He continued to recite the Lotus Sutra as before, but stopped drinking. There are indeed true stories like this. Actually, I hope that many of our Dharma friends can read more about some things from Han Chinese Buddhism, including biographies of eminent monks and some historical accounts. We should read the Lotus Sutra and study the Lotus Sutra. There are countless merits in listening to the Lotus Sutra. Previously, when I was carefully teaching the Diamond Sutra here together, I also personally shared some very inspiring true stories of miraculous responses directly related to the precious Diamond Sutra. In this way, we ourselves will naturally develop strong faith in this sacred scripture. Today, there are simply no hot water bottles available anywhere, unfortunately. It's just really quite fine, never mind. Earlier, the Buddha peacefully emerged from deep meditation today. After coming out of meditation, he began to carefully expound on the Buddha's profound divine wisdom clearly. He had many hidden meanings and very subtle intentions, among other important things. Generally, it is very difficult for Śrāvakas and Pratyekabuddhas to comprehend these. The liberation attained by Śrāvakas and Pratyekabuddhas is not ultimate. And at that time, the Buddha also spoke in verse. This principle was explained earlier. So, after thoroughly explaining this fundamental principle, next, in today's significant content, one crucial point is that all the Śrāvakas who were present developed some significant doubts. And then Shariputra, representing the Śrāvakas, sought clarification for everyone. He repeatedly and earnestly requested the Buddha to teach him. He then respectfully asked, "Why do you consistently and so highly praise the Buddha's profound wisdom and his many exemplary virtues in this way?" At first, the Buddha did not give permission. Here, Shariputra plays a rather persistent and unwavering role, repeatedly and continuously making earnest requests. Eventually, after much careful deliberation, the Buddha finally agreed. He then began to fully expound the profound and true content of the Lotus Sutra. The true and complete content may be discussed in our very next class, but in today's content, the main focus is on the Śrāvakas and Pratyekabuddhas who do not understand the Buddha's profound wisdom. They wonder why the Buddha praises it so highly and develop doubts. During our process of listening and contemplating, we also sometimes have such doubts. When we have doubts, whether it's towards the Dharma teacher or towards certain fellow practitioners, it's very important to frequently raise these crucial questions. Now, moving on, let's consider further aspects and their broader implications. The other day, we already finished discussing the verses. At this very point, the Śrāvakas present among the assembly were all those who had already completely eliminated their afflictions and habitual tendencies, such truly great arhats, including, at that time, Ajñata Kaundinya, one of the first 5 bhiksus, and others, numbered 1,200 people, and those individuals who had genuinely generated the profound mind of a Śrāvaka or a Pratyekabuddha, they were also present among them. In short, all the Śrāvakas and Pratyekabuddhas, as well as bhiksus and bhiksuns, upasakas and upasikas, laymen and laywomen, they were all thinking this way. Why is the world-honored one today especially praising the Buddha's skillful means so much? Didn't we discuss the other day, according to the Tiantai school's profound perspective, there is indeed provisional wisdom and true wisdom, or provisional teachings and true teachings? What is called provisional wisdom, when expressed in words and language, refers to the skillful means used to point things out to others. This is called provisional wisdom. We're talking about skillful means, ways of expressing things. And as for true wisdom, it is truly enabling others to realize the original nature of their mind. This is called true wisdom. So why then did the Buddha, at that particular point in time, place such profound importance on and praise these skillful means so highly? Moreover, the Dharma realized by the Buddha is said to be extremely, extremely profound, something that ordinary Śrāvakas and Pratyekabuddhas are unable to comprehend. Also, what the Buddha spoke contains many layers of meaning, and these meanings are very difficult to understand. Actually, 3 aspects are discussed here. Why is it said that the Buddha especially praised the skillful and profound means he employed in expounding the 3 vehicles of the Dharma? Why did he praise skillful means? Why did the Buddha himself praise them so much? Because the Buddha's wisdom is truly unparalleled in this world. Why is it said that the Buddha's profound and secret intentions are extremely difficult to understand? Because there are definitive and non-definitive teachings, as well as many hidden meanings and intentions. These are things that ordinary people find very hard to unravel. Why is this the case? Moreover, all Śrāvakas and Pratyekabuddhas are unable to comprehend them. Whether it is the Buddha's wisdom, skillful means, or profound and secret intentions, none can comprehend them. It's simply impossible, utterly out of reach. Regarding the meaning of liberation that the Buddha spoke of, we too have attained this profound Dharma and have successfully reached the ultimate state of nirvana. Originally, the meaning of liberation as taught by the Buddha, we Śrāvakas and Pratyekabuddhas believed we had already attained nirvana and achieved the ultimate fruit of arhatship. But today, it is said that we have not actually reached it. As for the Buddha's secret intentions and deeper meanings, we do not know them either. Here, on the one hand, what kind of truly significant issue arises is that it directly concerns the Buddha himself personally. All these devoted Śrāvakas and Pratyekabuddhas feel, why does the Buddha have such profound, such numerous intentions, and so many skillful means? This is one of their questions. Another issue is they begin to have doubts. Originally, we believed our own liberation was ultimate, but now after hearing what the Buddha has said today, it seems our liberation is still far from complete, and our liberation is not ultimate either. They also begin to doubt their own liberation. All of the assembly, because when the Buddha spoke of the Buddha's wisdom being such and how the Buddha's skillful means are, and that the Buddha's profound intentions are difficult to explain, everyone started to have these doubts again. At this time, Shariputra, knowing the doubts in the minds of all 4 groups of disciples, himself also, at least in his outward appearance, developed the very same doubts. Originally, he was foremost in wisdom. He shouldn't have had so many doubts indeed, right? Among all the Buddha's disciples, he was the one with the greatest wisdom. If even he couldn't quite understand, then who could truly comprehend the Buddha's profound intentions? But even he himself was still a bit unclear. He himself truly didn't understand why was it precisely like this. So, with profound respect, he addressed the Buddha, saying, "World-honored one, for what profound reason, for what specific cause and condition, for what particular reason and condition do you so especially sincerely and earnestly praise?" And the Buddha's foremost skillful means, the unsurpassed skillful means, as well as the Buddha's profound and subtle wisdom, and these difficult to unravel secret intentions. Why is it that you actually do this? I have truly never heard anything quite like this before. Even though he was in the very presence of the Buddha, some sources say he had already followed the Buddha for 40 years. But ever since he first began faithfully following him, he had never experienced anything. Because previously, the Buddha's teachings were always more about the fundamental dharma for ordinary humans and gods. So in this profound Lotus Sutra, indeed it is the only one that truly expounds the profound path of the one vehicle to complete liberation. He then said, I have never heard anything quite so profound before. You praise your skillful means, wisdom, and riddles. These 3 points have never been spoken of in this way before. And today it's not just me. So many of the fourfold assembly of disciples are also having doubts. Unlike in previous years when you taught, everyone would always just... Now, many individuals have indeed started to have some doubts. We hope, World-Honored One, that you can give us a clear explanation right here and right now. World-Honored One, we humbly ask, why do you so profoundly praise your truly exceptional and profound wisdom, your utterly inexpressible, deeply secret intent, and your remarkably skillful and compassionate means? We earnestly implore you, please kindly explain these most significant aspects to us. Shariputra is speaking on behalf of all the fourfold assembly of disciples, raising this important question respectfully. Next, the wise Shariputra will humbly present what he has already said before in the beautiful form of verses directly to the compassionate Buddha himself. He said that the Buddha is a truly great sage. His profound wisdom is like the brilliant radiance of the sun, shining brightly upon the world. It dispels the darkness in the hearts of sentient beings. In all the teachings he has given for a very long time, he has truly never heard it said quite like this. In other words, you only said this much later on. Basically, in the past it was absolutely never said in this way. And today, you yourself are speaking about your own unique qualities in this particular way, including the 10 powers and the 4 kinds of fearlessness. Countless samadhis, the 4 dhyanas, the 8 concentrations, and the 8 liberations, and so on. These truly inconceivable and profoundly significant dharmas. Many among the Śrāvakas actually have also never spoken of these Mahayana exclusive qualities. These are the many, many truly unique and exceptional qualities that only the Buddha possesses indeed. And also, since the Buddha began practicing the path, all the dharmas he attained have always been such that no one in our entire assembly has been able to inquire about them. Moreover, I also find it exceedingly difficult to fully comprehend and truly fathom, and I have absolutely no way to even begin to ask. Now, if we were to ask about each one individually, even Shariputra himself would find it quite hard to fully explain and truly difficult to bring up. So, in the absence of any specific questions, the Buddha himself speaks without being asked. As for the Buddha, I don't know what dependent origination is. Today, since no one has actually asked and no prior questions meant profound aspects weren't spoken, this light emitted, what's its reason, cause, and condition? At that time, Manjushri and Maitreya Bodhisattvas conversed. They might have discussed profound dharma in this way. In such a situation, you are the one who speaks on your own initiative, and you are praised for your skillful means, conduct, and profound wisdom, as well as for the profound secret meaning and all the virtues attained by the Buddha. These fundamental virtues that we discussed earlier, all those who have attained undefiled virtues, whether they are arhats, those seeking the fruition of Pratyekabuddhahood, or some bodhisattvas, Shariputra does not truly know. Does he fully understand the profound intentions of the bodhisattvas? He also represents the bodhisattvas as well as those seeking nirvana, all of whom have unfortunately fallen into a complex web of doubt. Why is the Buddha teaching such a profoundly skillful method today at this very moment? What exactly then is the precise reason for this? This situation naturally gives rise to a very deep sense of profound doubt and great confusion among his most devoted disciples. Why does the wise enlightened Buddha suddenly choose to speak in this particular mysterious way right now? The monks and nuns who diligently seek the vehicle of Pratyekabuddha are truly dedicated, as well as the devas, dragons, spirits, and gandharvas, and so on. They also look at each other, feeling a profound sense of doubt and deep confusion. Everyone is intently looking at the world-honored one, our revered teacher Shakyamuni Buddha, wondering precisely what is going on and what will happen next. They hope the Buddha will answer and explain everything to them one by one. As for the Śrāvakas, among all the Śrāvakas, I am indeed the foremost in profound wisdom and understanding. And the Buddha, the enlightened one, you have graciously acknowledged this significant fact as well. Furthermore, everyone else also generally treats me quite well and with considerable respect and kindness. Everyone believes that Shariputra is the foremost in wisdom. But even today, when I use all of my accumulated wisdom, I still feel a sense of profound doubt. I cannot comprehend the profound and subtle intention of the Buddha. What exactly is the ultimate Dharma? What is the true nature of the ultimate skillful means of the path that you practice and diligently follow and uphold? Even though I, Shariputra, am said to be foremost in wisdom, I am still unable to fully unravel the profound Dharma that the Buddha has spoken. Then those who are born from the Buddha's very mouth, because when it comes to Śrāvakas and Pratyekabuddhas, let's specifically talk about Śrāvakas. How exactly do Śrāvakas attain their ultimate realization? After hearing the Buddha's profound teachings, they truly attain their fruition. In our Tibetan language, we call this nyentu, which means attaining the ultimate fruit of our hardship through careful listening. These devoted children of the Buddha, truly born from the Buddha's very mouth, that is to say, all the assembled multitude primarily composed of Śrāvakas, with palms reverently joined in profound reverence, looking up in earnest admiration, patiently waiting and sincerely hoping for the Buddha to utter his wondrous and profound voice, so that right now he may bestow upon us the truly profound essential teachings of the Dharma, hoping that the Buddha will teach us, whether it is the devas, nagas, or humans here, countless sentient beings, as numerous as the sands of the Ganges, all beseech the Buddha and the Bodhisattvas, as well as the 80,000 beings who earnestly seek Bodhi, striving for enlightenment and ultimate wisdom, and also the countless magnificent wheel-turning kings from many diverse and distant countries, each ruling vast territories. Actually, here, the term trillions does not necessarily mean a literal numerical value of trillions. It simply refers to an immense multitude of wheel-turning kings and great kings originating from various different lands and realms, signifying a vast and immeasurable number, all of whom have joined their palms and with respectful hearts are willing to listen to the perfect and complete path that you teach, that is, the most profound path, the path of complete enlightenment. This is the very first important question being raised here. In other words, the wise Shariputra is respectfully representing everyone present in asking these three fundamental questions. And this is the first question. You are teaching such a profound Dharma, and I am representing everyone. As Shariputra, the foremost in wisdom, but even I truly cannot comprehend it. Can the Buddha please tell us? This is the first question. So many sentient beings have been respectfully joining their palms, waiting patiently for you to explain it to us in great detail. Then, at that precise moment, the compassionate Buddha gently said to Shariputra, he said, "Shao, stop, stop. There is absolutely no need to speak further. I will not say it now. There is simply no need to say it. If I were to say it, but here, as we said that day, forget it, forget it." Some say that's fine too. In the Tibetan version, it's not very explicit. In the Tibetan version, the Buddha says no need to say it. Not going to say it, not going to say it. That's the true and profound meaning. If I were to teach this incredibly profound and deeply significant Dharma today, then all the gods and all the humans throughout the entire world would undoubtedly be extremely shocked, profoundly afraid, and filled with significant doubt and apprehension. Because this profound Dharma is especially difficult for most people to truly understand, everyone would naturally be afraid, develop a deep sense of fear, and become quite doubtful. Because in fact, these profound teachings, whether they are deep esoteric teachings or common exoteric teachings available without the right spiritual vessel being ready, if you directly teach these most profound sacred teachings to unprepared others, they simply can't truly accept them at all. That's exactly why the wise, compassionate Buddha, from the ultimate perspective, he should know that they ought to be taught. But on the surface, when he was asked for the very first time, he simply said, "I won't say it." If he were to truly say it, all the divine gods and all the human beings in the entire world would undoubtedly develop profound doubts. And if these gods and humans were all to develop such significant doubts, then as for the Gandharvas, the Asuras, and other beings, there's even less need to mention them. Because generally speaking, gods and humans are the ones with the best faculties and have a strong and profound karmic connection with the Mahayana and other virtuous teachings. However, if even these individuals who are so deeply connected and predisposed cannot readily accept these truly profound teachings, then there's absolutely no need to mention the countless other sentient beings. At this significant point, Shariputra usually, when he requests once and the Buddha does not agree, he has to request again and again. But on the surface, this might seem a little bit unreasonable, yet in some particularly important and truly critical situations, it does indeed happen this very way. Back when His Holiness the Dharma King was still very much alive and present, many of our esteemed old Dharma friends undoubtedly know there was a diligent steward named Suodun who would often say, "In front of the Guru, you must make your request very earnestly. Otherwise, if you just say a word or two on the surface, since gurus are usually very busy individuals, they most likely won't pay much attention to it at all. So for things that need to be said, you should keep urging, keep talking about it, keep repeating it until they finally agree. That's the way to do it." Later, after the revered His Holiness peacefully passed away, he immediately went to sacred India. He went there to pay his deep respects to some great enlightened monks and wise masters. When he came back, he brought me some blessed items. I said, "Wow, you're amazing, so many blessed items." He replied, "Yes, I have experience. Usually in front of a guru, you have to beg desperately, shamelessly ask for it. Otherwise, you usually can't easily get them. This is truly my experience from many, many years. So this time when I went up there, I also made sure to bring you a lot of wonderful things. I just directly said that I really wanted to bring something back for all of you." He then generously gave me a whole bunch of precious items, including thankas, many blessed items, and all sorts of other significant things. So sometimes, perhaps because some of our dedicated volunteers, including those on my side, sometimes just say something once and that's it. Sometimes I have a lot going on, so I forget. He said, "Even if you tell the guru, nothing really happens." For many people, whether it's relying on the guru or in our communication and interactions with various leaders and other important individuals, especially when there are a multitude of things to discuss or something of significant importance that needs to be addressed, you need to bring it up repeatedly until it ultimately and completely succeeds. Of course, sometimes if you push too much, it might not be effective either. This truly depends on your refined sense of proportion and profound wisdom. Indeed, wisdom is also incredibly important in these situations. So next, when the Buddha was first asked this very significant question about the right approach, he began to explain. He said, "This cannot be spoken. If I were to speak of it, you see, many sentient beings would be thrown into panic and would develop even more doubt. Such profound dharma cannot truly be taught." Then Shariputra asked once more, "World-honored one, you must teach it. Please, I earnestly beg you to teach it. Please do teach it. You absolutely must teach it. You truly must teach it." He kept on insisting, hoping that you would definitely teach us. Why is that? Because among all those present here today, there are countless beings who, over hundreds of millions of asamkhya kalpas, have already seen many Buddhas. He said, "You may not know, but among our assembly, you must teach this profound and significant dharma. Once you have thoroughly taught it, if you look at us here, although there may be a few individuals with wrong views or lingering doubts, the vast majority, in their thousands and tens of thousands. The number of people with such doubts is not that many, but if you include other non-human beings, all these sentient beings, in any case, all of them have previously encountered and made offerings before many Buddhas, accumulating virtuous roots. And their faculties, their faith is exceptionally strong and deeply rooted, and their wisdom is also remarkably sharp and insightful. They possess an extraordinary and profound sense of reverence and unwavering faith in the sacred Dharma taught by the Buddha, embracing its profound teachings with complete devotion and understanding." In front of the Buddha, Shariputra repeatedly said, "You must teach it, you must teach it. Everyone here is definitely a vessel for the Dharma, truly excellent. Look at how strong their faith is, how truly great their profound wisdom is, and how remarkably solid their deep spiritual foundations are. If you don't teach such an exceptional devoted group, then where else could you possibly find one? Nowhere in the entire world could you find a group as good as ours today." At this crucial moment, Shariputra very carefully took back his own words, what he had just said, and presented them to the Buddha in the form of verses. There weren't very many of these. He just This was probably in accordance with the established Indian tradition. Didn't we also discuss this particular point the other day? Sometimes when the verses thoughtfully repeat the prose, it can be quite interesting. It's just following ancient Indian tradition perfectly. So he respectfully expressed it in beautiful verse form. Dharma King, Supreme Honored One. This title, Dharma King, specifically refers to the enlightened Buddha. The other day, someone clearly said that it's not appropriate to call a guru Dharma King. They said that only someone with true political power over a country should be called a king. But this view may not be very reasonable. You see, even Shakyamuni Buddha himself is indeed called the Dharma King. So this significant term, Dharma King, is certainly not something that was simply made up by a few people much later on. When Kumarajiva translated the Lotus Sutra, he also referred to the Buddha as Dharma King. And for truly remarkable and highly revered gurus, the distinguished title of Dharma King is also frequently used and applied. For a period of time, there were quite a few Dharma Kings. This is also called Dharma King. Even those who are not Dharma Kings or don't really look like Dharma Kings are also referred to as Dharma Kings. Normally, if someone is a king, a monarch, as a monarch, at the very least, he has a country, he has followers, and many other things. But this entire group hasn't really been fully established or properly recognized yet. So calling him a Dharma King might be a bit difficult. But in any case, Dharma King is indeed an ancient honorific title for the enlightened Buddha. Buddha, revered Dharma King, you must kindly expound the most profound Dharma for us. Please don't worry at all. All of us here are truly very good followers. Countless sentient beings have especially great faith in you. Especially today, among those present, there are so many bodhisattvas, so many arhats, so many bhikshus, bhikshunis, upasakas and upasikas together, as well as many, many non-human beings, gods and humans. Look at how magnificent this gathering is. If you don't teach here, then where else in this world would you possibly teach? And at this moment, the Buddha also observed. You see, just now he paused once, and then the venerable Shariputra repeatedly requested. The Buddha again tried to stop Shariputra, saying, if this is spoken aloud, all the gods, humans, asuras, and so on will certainly become afraid and develop serious doubts. Especially some bhikshus with arrogance born of their spiritual progress will be greatly affected, who, due to their arrogance, actually do not understand at all, but think that they already understand and have not attained realization, but believe they have. They are actually someone with very shallow knowledge, but in front of others, they always think very highly of themselves. Such arrogant people are actually extremely dangerous individuals. If you see someone who is extremely ignorant, do not speak profound dharma to them at all. If you encounter people who are truly very ignorant, do not teach them any truly profound dharma. Those who hear it may give rise to terrible slander and suffer greatly for hundreds of thousands of endless kalpas ahead. Those who hear it may give rise to terrible slander. If you teach them such profound dharma unwisely, the unprepared listener will inevitably slander others because of it and will experience suffering for hundreds or thousands of kalpas. This is completely and utterly unnecessary. That's precisely why the Buddha steadfastly refused at that particular time, explicitly stating, I will not teach. Even if he were to attempt to teach, it would be exceedingly difficult for them to truly comprehend. In fact, the Buddha was very clear about the capacities of sentient beings. He understood these things extremely well, but if there were still some particularly arrogant monks who hadn't left yet, then he would not transmit the teachings. This also carries a hidden meaning and significance, because only the Buddha truly knows. Previously, in a commentary on the Vimalakirti Sutra, it is mentioned in the commentary that at that time someone was ordained in front of Shariputra. Then Shariputra used his supernatural powers to observe, but even after looking for 80,000 kalpas, he could not see any virtuous roots of ordination in that person. So in the end, he did not give permission. Then he went to seek ordination one by one in front of 500 arhats as well, but none of them gave him permission either. So generally, to allow someone to take monastic vows, one must see whether they have virtuous roots. If someone lacks virtuous roots, Even if they fully meet all other specified requirements, permission may not necessarily be granted in every single instance. At that time, he was not given permission. Later, this person was extremely heartbroken and ran to the Buddha, crying. The Buddha had already granted him permission and allowed him to ordain. After his ordination, he very soon attained the profound fruition of arhatship. At that particular time, the Venerable Shariputra was exceedingly surprised. He pondered deeply that no matter how closely he observed this individual, this person did not seem to possess any virtuous roots whatsoever. Yet, after his ordination, he attained the state of arhatship with such remarkable swiftness. Just now I was saying, after the Buddha let him become a monk, he later attained the state of arhat. Then Shariputra felt especially embarrassed and asked the Buddha very sadly, "Why is it like this?" From our observation, he didn't have any virtuous roots at all. Later, the Buddha told him, "Ordinary people can't ever see the precious gold ore hidden deep inside a rough rock, but a truly skilled, experienced goldsmith always knows exactly which rock contains pure gold. He can clearly see it there immediately. In the exact same way, ordinary Śrāvakas and Arhats simply do not truly know that in the hearts of all ordinary people there is indeed this inherent golden Buddha nature. But only the Tathagata, when he observes with profound wisdom, can truly understand this." So this analogy is used to explain it. Therefore, the Buddha fully and completely knew, in that particular situation, with absolute certainty, who among the people could listen and who could not. But why didn't he teach it right from the beginning? Actually, long before this, many of the most arrogant bhikshus had already left early. It would not only be completely meaningless for them personally, but it might even bring about significant irrationality or considerable spiritual suffering, because of these very important fundamental reasons exactly like this. The Buddha then expressed what he had previously said in a poetic verse form. For now, it simply cannot be spoken. The truly wonderful Dharma I speak of is extremely hard to fully comprehend, indeed inconceivable. Moreover, if some arrogant bhikshus were to hear it, they might become quite confused. Not only would they not show respect or develop faith, they might even slander it. In the end, they would certainly fall into the great and perilous pit of the three evil destinies, which is extremely dangerous. After that, Shariputra still wouldn't give up his earnest plea. This is now his third request. We often say he asked again and again. So this is the first, and then the second, and finally the third. He kept asking repeatedly. He continued to make his earnest request without stopping. At this crucial point, Shariputra, with profound sincerity, once again earnestly pleaded with the Buddha. He emphatically said, "World-honored one, you absolutely must speak. You truly must speak." It seems quite clear that this time Shariputra is indeed really. Perhaps many in the assembly are also very grateful to Shariputra, since they themselves do not dare to make such a request before the Buddha. He is representing them continuously and earnestly speaking before the Buddha, saying, "Only you, world-honored one, possess the wisdom and compassion to truly understand our plight. Please tell us quickly. Please tell us the profound truth." Buddha, the world-honored one, the great king, he humbly said, "O world-honored one, you must certainly tell us. You must absolutely tell us the profound truths we seek. Today, among our esteemed assembly, there are countless millions just like me gathered here today who, life after life, have been spiritually matured by you, most compassionate Buddha." He said quite earnestly then, "I am still patiently waiting here for these countless millions of beloved relatives in your many past lives, in your many past lives. You have truly matured and saved many sentient beings." This is because what the Buddha truly wants to convey is that these relatives at that time had a profound and significant connection with him in his previous life. So now regarding the Shariputra, he just said that he had made offerings to many Buddhas. Now you are saying that you have already matured or formed a profound and significant connection with the Buddha. These sentient beings are also present here, so among them, if today they receive your profound Dharma with a truly respectful and open mind, they will surely gain immense comfort and significant benefit throughout the long, arduous night of samsara. The benefit is indeed immeasurable, O Buddha. You absolutely must teach this. Shariputra, using his very own words, then carefully repeats this profound message in a beautiful verse form. The Buddha is the peerless one, honored among the two-legged in the world. May you please teach the supreme Dharma. We hope you will expound the foremost teaching of the Lotus Sutra. I am the eldest among all your disciples. He should be considered the eldest son among the Śrāvakas. But if it is the Bodhisattva vehicle, then Manjushri Bodhisattva, Maitreya Bodhisattva, and others like them are the only ones who today sincerely request the Buddha to explain to us in detail. Among the countless sentient beings in this assembly, there are those who can receive this Dharma with respect and faith. And the Buddha, throughout his many countless past lifetimes, he has taught and guided all of us, his disciples, has truly helped us mature and significantly benefited us all indeed. Everyone present here today, all of us, are those whom you have. This sentence can be connected without a period, meaning that the Buddha has had karmic connections with us over many lifetimes and has delivered us from suffering. These disciples of yours are not only from this life, but from many past lives as well. Today we respectfully join our palms before you, and everyone is truly willing to listen. Buddha, please do not refuse us. So many of your devoted disciples from past lives are gathered here today, joining our palms in reverence before you, and everyone is truly willing to accept the Buddha's sacred words. We, the 1,200 people gathered here today, along with many other sincere seekers of the Buddha, for the sake of this entire assembly, for the sake of these precious sentient beings as well, we earnestly hope the Buddha will expound the profound teachings to us in great detail when we hear this truly great Dharma. We will give rise to immense joy. In order for so many of us sentient beings to experience this joy, Buddha, you must skillfully turn the great wheel of Dharma for us. At this very moment, the Buddha then said to Shariputra, you have earnestly requested this again and again, so now it would not be right not to speak. I sincerely hope you will all listen very attentively and reflect quite well upon it carefully. I will now expound the profound teachings to you in great detail. Next, the compassionate Buddha finally agreed graciously. After repeated requests, he said, since you have been speaking on behalf of everyone like this, then I really have no choice but to speak. So you must listen very carefully. Generally, among the truly great masters of the past, it is often said that the phrase now, listen attentively, refers to wisdom from hearing in listening, reflecting, and meditating. Reflect well refers to wisdom from reflection, meaning you must be good at contemplating. Keep it in mind means to practice and remember it well, which is wisdom from meditation. Generally, listening attentively means that during receiving teachings, one must listen with full concentration and not let the mind wander. Even if a person is physically present among those listening to the teachings, if their mind constantly drifts thousands of kilometers away, thinking about things, that is inappropriate. The rules for listening to the Dharma in the preliminary practices mention this, that after listening, it is not enough to just hear. One must also reflect on it. That's precisely why sometimes we carefully take a few important notes in our books, and this is still acceptable. Many years later, when you look back, you'll realize, oh, I took notes when I listened to this teaching. You'll also see the parts you didn't understand were marked down, but just reflecting on it isn't enough. You also need to keep practicing, keep contemplating, and keep familiarizing yourself with it. If you have the prerequisites of listening, reflecting, and practicing, then I can explain these teachings to you one by one. I am preparing to teach the Lotus Sutra of the Wonderful Dharma. After saying this, among the assembly, there were bhikshus and bhikshunis, as well as upasikas and upasakas, a total of 5,000 people present, who no longer wished to listen to the discourse, so they stood up from their seats, bowed to the Buddha, and then quietly left. Because they were generally bhikshus with excessive pride. You see, when he was about to teach the profound Dharma, the Buddha kept delaying, and there was ongoing dialogue in between. This was the reason. He kept stalling for time. In fact, many people below were deep in thought. While they were reflecting, some of the overly proud bhikshus felt that they would not be able to accept the profound Dharma that was to come. Since they couldn't accept it, they left the assembly early before the teachings continued. In the solemn Dharma assembly presided over by the Buddha, if there were already 5,000 bhikshus and bhikshunis, then perhaps among the retinues of devas, dragons, yakshas, and others, some also left. We're talking about the Lotus Sutra. You could say this is the great Lotus Sutra lecture hall. Just now I noticed among the lay practitioners, some were wearing white clothes, some red, some black, and some in floral patterns. Quite a few of them also simply couldn't take it and left immediately. Even some experienced monastics left as well, unfortunately. I don't really know if it was because of deep arrogance or for some other unknown reason. Here, sometimes it's exactly the same. People listen to just a bit at the very beginning. In the end, when they can't understand, they just stand up, put their palms together, and leave. Actually, this is also a profound kind of respect for the speaker, because they truly cannot fully understand and feel extremely, extremely tired. Or sometimes perhaps they simply do not wish to listen at all. So what is the reason for this? Why did 5,000 people leave? Because these people have heavy karmic obstacles and are also arrogant. They haven't attained any significant merit whatsoever, but they truly believe they have achieved it. They haven't realized enlightenment, but think they have. With such faults, they can't sit still and simply can't stay there. Because of their arrogance, they think they've attained something when they actually haven't. Even in front of the Buddha, they still do not possess it. And as for the Buddha, the world-honored one remained completely silent and did not actively stop them. He didn't say, "I am about to teach now, so you should certainly stay." If you were to leave in this manner, and in many other profound sutras, every single time a Mahayana sutra is being taught, it is emphasized there's always a group of people who will leave. When they leave, sometimes the Buddha would even praise them. You might remember this as something familiar. When the Maharatnakuta Sutra was being taught at that time, when Maitreya Bodhisattva was teaching the profound Dharma, it seems that 500 bhikshus immediately and decisively renounced their monastic vows right there on the spot. They emphatically stated, if the profound Dharma is taught in this manner, it seems we are simply not qualified to remain as monastics. So they left and returned to lay life. Manjushri Bodhisattva highly praised them, saying, "Well done, well done." He said, "Your approach is very fair. If you yourself truly lack the qualifications to be a monastic, and yet you insist on staying within the monastic community, you end up wasting the faith and offerings of the laity, which is meaningless and a waste." That's why he said, "Well done, well done." He used these words to praise them at the time. So for us in general, sometimes there are some Dharma teachers or counselors, and during their guidance, some individuals will simply leave if they do not wish to listen. Actually, that's really a very good thing overall. If they just sit there without really listening carefully and then start having all sorts of negative discriminating thoughts, or even worse, slander, it creates a very negative toxic atmosphere and is quite harmful to the whole group. It's also not good for themselves. If you listen attentively to a teaching from start to finish, of course there is merit in that. But if you don't listen properly, and throughout the process you keep generating wrong views, then after listening, you go in front of many people and say, what was just taught was terrible, slandering and disparaging it, then the fault is even greater. So the Buddha also tacitly allowed this at that particular time in order to protect certain individuals and people. Sometimes, even during the process of teaching the Dharma, some people, right from the start, think they are not suitable vessels for the Dharma and feel they are not suited for this kind of teaching. It's reasonable to voluntarily withdraw. Every time we taught Dzogchen, we would repeatedly tell everyone, you should carefully consider for yourselves whether you have faith in the Dharma, whether you have faith in the teacher, and whether you can arrange your time for the entire teaching process. If in any respect your conditions are not sufficient, it's best not to accept it from the very beginning. Otherwise, you just keep listening and listening intently, and by the time you eventually reach the very end, it might genuinely seem like you've developed some significant conflicts with the Dharma teacher. In that case, the faults could be even greater. Nowadays, for some people, it's really quite hard to express themselves clearly. Sometimes at the very beginning, they seem to possess a great deal of faith. But by the very end, after diligently listening to many profound and insightful teachings, it seems remarkably easy for them to completely abandon their esteemed teacher. This deeply concerning situation includes their overall attitude toward the Dharma transmitter and their spiritual guide, as if they also hold significantly different views and perspectives. Actually, as some Dharma teachers, as some Khenpos or Khenmos, maybe they are not necessarily people who are lacking in anything, but if you have devoted a significant amount of time in your life to these people, if you have invested so much of your valuable time and your life, and by the end, not only do they show no sense of gratitude at all, but they might even display a very cold and indifferent attitude, or even go so far as to completely abandon you. Perhaps this particular situation is not truly beneficial for either oneself or for others. Some time ago, I had a conversation with one of our dedicated volunteers. I originally wanted to assign some tasks related to volunteer work, but when I called, their attitude just wasn't right. There are actually a few people who, for the past 2 or 3 years, have seemed almost possessed, giving off a very rather strange feeling. Later, this person told me, "Oh, I'm leaving right away." They said, "I'm going on a spiritual pilgrimage to India with my esteemed guru, Rinpoche." I thought to myself, you are a monastic, and you are with your guru Rinpoche, but as a female practitioner traveling with a male, is that really appropriate? So I said, then go ahead, don't ever come back to the institute, and promptly hung up the phone. Sometimes, even though someone is a volunteer, and even though they used to have a certain level of faith in the Dharma within this community, in the end, I sometimes observe that some of our former compassion wisdom volunteers, at the very beginning, we all made a 5-year commitment together. Many individuals were willing at first, but halfway through the journey, a few individuals heard that compassion wisdom had a lot of money, and some people even said, "Come volunteer with me instead." Then 1 or 2 of these people would say, "I'm going with the guru tomorrow." They left abruptly without properly handing over their important work completely. Later, I found out that it didn't really work out well for them at all. Sometimes people in different positions naturally develop different kinds of subtle arrogance, unfortunately. This is called increasing arrogance. Or when some people reach a certain point, I think from the very beginning, if you don't form this Dharma connection, that's actually very wise. You don't listen to esoteric teachings, profound Dharma, and at first you use your own wisdom to observe. Before you rely on a guru or start practicing, just like at the beginning of our class, if you realize, oh, this is a very profound teaching, and you think, someone like me might not be able to accept it and might end up slandering it, then it's better to just leave. In that case, the Dharma teacher can also accept it. No Dharma teacher necessarily needs to have a lot of followers. For someone to be considered a successful Dharma teacher, they really don't care about how many followers or how many people they have. But if you truly and genuinely want your own virtuous roots to increase from this perspective, if you don't carry your practice through from the very beginning to the very end, you might deeply regret it at the very moment of your passing. Everything you have ever done throughout your entire life may ultimately end up amounting to absolutely nothing at all. So here we also say that, as a Dharma transmitter, if in the future there are some followers who truly cannot be guided or helped in any way, there's really no need to force it. The Jingde record of the transmission of the lamp mentions that the Buddha actually already realized that all phenomena are empty by nature, but fixed karma cannot be changed at all. The Buddha's wisdom, fixed karma, cannot be altered. The Buddha liberated countless sentient beings, but those without a karmic connection cannot be liberated. There is no affinity. We've previously discussed stories in the Mahaprajñaparamita Shastra that even a Buddha with perfect merit cannot liberate sentient beings who have no karmic connection with him. The Buddha liberated countless sentient beings, but sentient beings in samsara are endless and cannot be liberated. Even the Buddha himself could not liberate them all completely. There is no such thing as liberating every single being. This simply doesn't exist. So in the Jingde record of the transmission of the lamp, I have seen 3 things that are impossible. That is to say, it is impossible to liberate those without karmic connection, impossible to eradicate fixed karma, and it is truly impossible to liberate all sentient beings completely and entirely indeed. You could put it this way, these things simply cannot be done. Therefore, whether we are Dharma teachers or Dharma transmitters, we actually need to observe karmic connections in reality. Affinity is very important. For some people, perhaps the karmic connection isn't very strong at first. Karmic connection improves over time. I think this is the most meaningful thing in life. But for some people, even at the beginning, their connection with the Dharma teacher or others is already quite strong, yet in the end, gradually even to the point where they become hostile and cause harm between the Dharma teacher and Vajradharma friends. Some people stay in a certain monastery, receiving empowerments and teachings, and eventually treat it as their very own personal property. This has also happened in our own institute in the past, quite unfortunately, including among some senior Khenpos and respected Khenmos as well, regrettably. So, in cases such as these, for a particular Dharma lineage, they are truly people without the proper karmic connection indeed. Therefore, today, as we discuss the Mahayana Sublime Dharma Lotus Sutra, some people without the right connection, a portion of them left early. This is actually a good thing. The Buddha also tacitly approved of this. The Buddha did not stop them either. But there are some who, after initially accepting the Dharma, end up leaving in the end. Although this group of people may be acknowledged by the Buddha or the Dharma teachers, and even praised with, well done, you may go," and told that it doesn't matter whom you follow, in reality this kind of karmic connection is actually quite risky. I hope that all of you, since you have chosen to study Buddhism, should understand these profound and essential principles of Buddhism. This is very important. Then, when those 5,000 arrogant bhikkhus had already departed and left the assembly, the Buddha told Shariputra, "Now in our assembly there are no more extraneous unnecessary branches and leaves. Everyone present is truly sincere and genuinely committed. There are no more unnecessary branches and leaves indeed. No more chaotic or disorderly people of all kinds. Because many of those with arrogance, wrong views and wrong understanding, all these people are gone. Those who were supposed to leave have already left. Those who remain are very sincere, truly worthy vessels of the Dharma. They are truly devout, possess unwavering faith, exhibit profound wisdom, and are deeply respectful. Such individuals are indeed remarkable. Shariputra, as for those arrogant people, it is even better that they have withdrawn. Their departure is indeed a good thing." He said, "It's even better that these people have left." The Buddha did not think, 5,000 people, so many have left. He did not worry. Now our assembly is empty, what should we do? He did not think this way. "Oh, so many have left. Very good. The rest are truly worthy vessels of the Dharma. So sometimes when some unworthy vessels leave, it is actually a good thing. Good when unworthy vessels leave." The Buddha said, "You should listen carefully. I will teach you the true and profound Lotus Sutra." All right then, we'll now stop right here for today's session completely. Oh, there's one final line. Shariputra said, "Indeed, world-honored one, we truly wish and are eager to hear." Shariputra said, "Yes, in that particular case, world-honored one, we are indeed willing to attentively listen to your profound teachings." So in the next lesson, the Buddha will continue to teach the true Lotus Sutra.
Kirgana jirano chupai, chupun zonen droa droa
Bandangara Badma Asadarda Bandangara Badma Asadarda Bandangara Badma Asadarda